This is part 3 of a 4-part series where I'm breaking down our 4-phase marketing strategy for e-commerce during the holidays. And we actually start this we start this in October and we take this all the way through Christmas time, all the way through December. So right now we are in Phase 3, we're gonna be covering this. I'm gonna be talking through our our overall strategy, our email strategy, when we send emails, the volume of emails, the direction of those emails, and then I'm gonna close with how we structure our ad campaigns tied into that strategy. And you're gonna wanna listen to that because we're gonna break down some really unique and more advanced structures and things to just keep in mind as we go into the Phase 3, which is actually the Black Friday through Cyber Monday phase of these 4 phases. But before I do that, I have a massive favor to ask you. If you're watching on YouTube and you're enjoying this series and our content, please go ahead and hit subscribe. Or if you are listening on audio, go ahead and give us a little rating. It takes like 5 seconds. If you're on Spotify, that's what I use. Go ahead and hit the little stars, and please, 5 we would appreciate. But if it's less than that, we just want you to be genuinely honest. All right. And also, as you're following along, once we get into Phase 3, this is where we prepare and we implement the holiday component. This is where we start to really see traction and see sales. And I would love for you to drop a comment on YouTube and let us know what your results were like as you go through this. Okay, so just to recap a couple things. Phase 1 was the offers, website, and inventory planning phase. This is where we are preparing our website throughout October so that by the time we get to November, we're not preparing a week before Black Friday, Cyber Monday, but rather we have our inventory already in there or on the way. We have our website prepared, all the assets that we need, and the offers planned, which moves us to our unique Phase 2 Black Friday, Cyber Monday VIP pre-sale. This is where, if you look at this calendar here, and yes, we're on YouTube, by the way, they get the benefit of seeing my iPad and some fun stuff here. We have our pre-sale, and this is where we are for 5 days, we're making 1 offer per day to our VIP list. So we spend the entire month of November running lead gen ads, getting people to basically lead gen ads and then also sending emails and using social to get people to raise their hands and get on this early bird Black Friday VIP list. So that way on Black Friday through Cyber Monday, they get notified of deals early and before things run out of stock, but also they get access to an exclusive list only VIP pre-sale that we do the week before Black Friday, Cyber Monday. This is this year, 2023, is November 13th through 17th, that previous Monday through Friday. And what this does is this gets people spending early, ahead of competition, and it allows us to try a different offer every day, which creates urgency and allows us to test which offers resonate the most. So if we find out an offer resonates the most, then we could tie that in with Black Friday through Cyber Monday, or even on an evergreen basis. Now, once we've made it through Phase 2, we are now into Phase 3, which is what this episode is about. So this is our Black Friday and Cyber Monday sales strategy. So let me just break it down and then let's kind of get into the weeds a little bit. So if you look at the calendar here, this year, man, Black Friday through Cyber Monday just falls at the end of November. I think next year our team was talking about Cyber Monday or Black Friday. One of them is on, I think Black Friday is on December 1st, which is crazy to think about. So we are at the tail end of November here. And so on Black Friday through Cyber Monday, we are gonna prepare 2 offers. One for Black Friday, and we usually will let the Black Friday run from that Friday all the way through Sunday. And then we prepare a Cyber Monday offer. So we like to prepare 2. Some people only do Black Friday on Black Friday. If you extend it through the whole weekend, you get so much more juice out of it. And the other thing to keep in mind is these 4 days are gonna be the largest sales days of the year for most e-commerce businesses. We have clients break records, like unbelievable records on these days. Every year, this is when there's more money spent than these 4 days is when more money is spent online than any other 4 days of the entire year. So we're gonna so the strategy I'm gonna break down, it's gonna be aggressive. And it could be more aggressive. I'm gonna give you what I believe is just like the bench line or the baseline of what you should do. And you can always add to this, all right? So first things first, make sure you have your offers prepared. When we do Black Friday and Cyber Monday offers, we make sure that those offers are larger than other offers. Black Friday through Cyber Monday is about volume. We want to get as many customers in the gates as possible. We call this stacking the deck. And if we can stack the deck in our favor, when we move into Q1, when it's slower, we're going to be able to really capitalize on that. All right. So what does this strategy look like? Well, first of all, in phase 3, the goal is to essentially cash in on our email database and produce large amounts of revenue. Obviously, it's to offer our VIPs that got on that list early bird access to our deals via email every single day. We're gonna then run ads for our warm and hot audiences for those different offers. And then if you have the bandwidth, and I highly recommend everybody do, we're gonna run ads to cold audiences for Black Friday, Cyber Monday offers. And we have a way that we do all of these that can range from pretty basic structure to a lot more advanced, including intraday scaling and what you need to prepare for depending on your spend threshold. So I'm gonna give you all of it, and then I want you to take what you take from it, what you will, based on your knowledge level in advertising, your skill set, and how much you're currently spending. Whatever you're spending though, whatever you do though, spend something on ads. This is where we really have to take advantage of those moments. So let's talk through the campaign overview and what this is gonna look like. From a core strategy standpoint, we first are going to have 2 different offers for Black Friday, Cyber Monday. Obviously, we just kind of talked about that, so we'll put a little check mark there. The next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna have 2 to 3 emails per day from that Friday through that Cyber Monday. Now, leading up to Black Friday, we are going to let our list know, hey, big deals on Black Friday. We're just trying to get in front of them. We're trying to put our face in front of them in their inbox leading up to Black Friday. But on Black Friday through Cyber Monday, we're gonna send 2 to 3 emails per day. Now, this is the baseline. This is the baseline. What I mean by that is I don't think you should send less than this. If you send 1 per day, you're drowned out, you're toast. Everyone else is gonna send more than you. And you can send much more than this. We have people, we have friends of ours that have been on this podcast that send upwards of 9 to 12 emails a day to their list. But they also have 7-figure days. And so 6 and 7-figure days, depending on the brand size. So this is the baseline. I want you to send 2 minimum. Really, I'm gonna encourage you to send 3 minimum. And here's what it's gonna look like. We're gonna send 2 to 3 per day. And so we like to send them, just to make this easy, if we're doing 3, we like to do 7, 11, and 7. It gives a nice spread of the time. And then also, we've just seen these do really well. So 7 a.m., we send email number 1 to our Black Friday VIPs. These are people that have opted in to say, hey, I'm raising my hand. I wanna know when you have exclusive deals on Black Friday. So our phase 2 has built this list, and we've used our existing list. So though that exclusive VIP list, they get access before everyone else at 7 a.m. Then at 11 a.m., we're gonna send it to our entire list. All right, this is gonna get people opening, people clicking, people buying midday. This is when most people are gonna be sending though. This is when we're hitting the whole list just to start getting people engaged, right? Then at 7 p.m., we're gonna go ahead and send to our engaged list. These are gonna be people that have engaged with us in the last usually 90 days. So we send our entire list, so we start to get some people into the engaged list, and then we send to our engaged list. So the entire list is the largest amount. They're gonna get it at 11. 7 p.m. is the engaged list. That's the second largest amount, but 7 a.m. is the smallest list, and that's gonna be the Black Friday VIPs. They get first access before everybody else. So from a very simplistic standpoint, that is the email strategy that we're going to roll with. Now from an advertising standpoint, I decided I want to spend a little bit more time talking through this because I think that emails are a little easier to like build a strategy for, but I feel that advertising on these small windows of days that are highly competitive is also a little bit more challenging. So I'm gonna dive into that a little bit more here. But the high level of this is we're gonna run at least 2 retargeting campaigns, and we're gonna run 2 or more cold ad campaigns. Again, a lot of this is gonna vary based on your budget, your experience, things that you have that are proven or not proven, etc. So let's go ahead, let's talk through, I'm just gonna talk through things that we are going to do here. Let me actually move my screen here a little bit. Okay, so let's first talk about structure. And these are gonna be structure of audiences. Audiences. Okay. So in audience structure, what we want to do, the first thing we have to keep in mind is we want to reduce delivery restrictions. What the heck does that mean? It means we need to give Facebook more types of assets. We need to give Facebook video. We need to give Facebook images. We need to have assets that are sized for relevant placements. Square, vertical, horizontal. We want to reduce any restrictions that we're putting on Facebook. If you're running ads usually on Facebook and you're only going to Facebook newsfeed or you're only going to Instagram, let's open it up to advantage placements. We want to just let this go to everybody. We want to turn on optimizations. We're looking to reduce delivery restriction, give Facebook control so that way Facebook will place it where it deems fit. So we're going to reduce delivery restriction. Now, the next thing we're going to do is we are going to, from an audience standpoint, we're going to shorten retargeting windows. So if you use custom audiences right now, you probably have some different buckets. You might have like people who visited our website in the last 30, 60, 90, 180 days. You might have add to carts. You might have website purchasers in the last 7 days, 30 days, 90 days, etc. So we're going to shorten retargeting windows. So instead of a 180-day list of your website visitors or your leads or purchases, whatever, we're going to drop this to 30 to 60. But we're going to tighten this window because we want our spend to be really saturating the hottest people in our list. So we're going to shorten our retargeting windows. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to expand cold audiences. Now we continue to see this do really, this is where I just believe Facebook is continuing to go. But what this means is if you have access to Advantage Plus audiences, let's lean into that. Advantage Plus audiences, not to get too deep into it, it's kind of like you have Advantage Plus shopping campaigns, but you also have Advantage Plus audiences, which is kind of like the audience side of it, but you have a little bit of control. It's usually broad and you can give it a general direction with interests or lookalikes, and you can have your exclusions in there. But we're gonna just, from a high level, I'm gonna talk through campaign structure in a little bit, but from an audience standpoint, just consider expanding your cold audiences. We don't wanna be going to these small 2 million person audiences. We need to expand these. So consider Advantage Plus audiences. We also want to go broad. We want to test moving broad. We also want to consider stacks, where we're stacking, instead of single interest or single lookalikes, we're stacking high value interests. We're stacking like high value, by the way, is going to be like purchases. It might be a value-based lookalike. It's going to be those hotter people that have given us money, or they just are a higher value in the food chain. Lower value would be like Facebook page engagers, like a lookalike on those or video views. That's a lower value. So we're gonna stack single interest, instead of single interest or single lookalikes, we're gonna stack them together. We might stack tons of single interests that we've seen work for us. We'll just put them all together. We're trying to give Facebook a lot because we have a small window. And so we want to give Facebook everything, remove delivery restriction, let Facebook control it. We're gonna see benefit in doing that. And that's how we're gonna kind of expand. So we're gonna stack things. And the other thing that we also wanna consider is if you normally have restrictions on gender, I'm gonna say, consider no gender restrictions. And here's why. Boyfriends, girlfriends, fathers, mothers, husbands, wives, they buy for each other. They're gonna be buying for their significant others. And so remember, people are buying first party and second party. And so you need to consider saying, hey, maybe I'm gonna give Facebook a little bit of control. The good news is, like, we see this across the board. Even if you primarily serve one gender, a lot of times Facebook is pretty good at determining who the ads should be going to. And so just remember, there is first party and second party buying happening. So consider removing that. And then the only other thing I'm gonna add is only to add age exclusions if an age range largely doesn't buy from you. Otherwise, just let Facebook decide the delivery. All right, so just let Facebook decide the delivery. If you normally only go to a certain age range, you may consider just kind of expanding that. Again, we're going for simplification with these campaign structures. And also, we don't have time we're not doing testing. We're not doing testing. We're doing scaling in these short windows. And so we don't want to be tweaking and adjusting things. We're trying to give Facebook what we know it needs, and we give Facebook control to then go and really optimize the delivery and everything within the campaign. So that is going to be, that's what we're talking about when we talk about structure of audiences. Now, let's talk about structure and let's talk about campaigns. Like, what's the actual campaign structure we're gonna use? Well, biggest thing is let's keep it simple, right? As few campaigns and ad sets as possible. Again, we're trying to consolidate. The other thing we're gonna consider here is no custom audience exclusions. We're not adding custom audience exclusions. So normally, while we're creating a campaign and we're going maybe broad with it, or we're going advanced plus shopping campaigns, or whatever we're doing, we normally, well, not advanced plus shopping, but advantage plus audiences, we're typically adding exclusions, because if you've ever advertised before, you know that if you go broad and you add no exclusions, what happens? Well, Facebook knows all your warm and hot people. So Facebook's gonna go and attack the warm and hot people first. It happens every single time you launch a cold campaign with no exclusions. But that's okay. We're looking to saturate our warm and hot audiences. We're looking to expand into cold. And we have such a tight window. We're not looking for an evergreen scale and stability here. We're looking for as much extraction of profit and cash flow in cash as possible in this. And so we're not gonna add exclusions here. Our cold audiences will have no exclusions. We're gonna let it hit. It's gonna overlap. It's gonna saturate. That's okay. This next thing we're gonna do, now this is a little having to work in advance. So this is gonna be get launched early. You don't wanna wait till Thursday, Thanksgiving, to be scheduling your campaigns. Usually around this time. This is when so many advertisers are trying to cash in. And so what happens is they're all publishing their campaigns, they all go into review, and we've seen things sit in review for days. So don't let that happen to you. Get launched early. We will start usually a week earlier. So we don't wanna wait till, again, halfway through Thanksgiving Day or like Thanksgiving Eve and try to do this. Like, no, let's get this launched a week early, in review, scheduled, approved, and ready to go. So you're not one of those people that it's like you get approved 3/4 of the way through Black Friday and then you get a late start. So get early approval. And then the other thing to keep in mind is to, and this is just for those of you that get freaked out about it, is to ignore learning statuses. So I didn't even spell statuses right, statuses, okay. Ignore learning statuses. There's no time for this to happen usually. It's a tight window. If you see in learning mode, like, don't even worry about it, don't fret over it. Just we're gonna launch these and we're just gonna have to let them really move in and really ride here. So from a simple standpoint, that's how we're gonna structure our campaigns. Now let's kind of talk about, budgets. Let's talk about budgets here. Big thing right away is, and I'm gonna cover this, this is more for if you're spending a lot. So we have clients that spend a lot of money on Facebook ads. And so when you spend a lot of money on Facebook ads, eventually you will have a daily limit that it will cap you. That limit is typically, that I've seen for heavier spend accounts, is $50,000 a day. Now, some of you listening are like, holy crap. I don't need to worry about that. That's okay. Check the box and move on. But if you're a heavy spender and you're watching or listening to this right now, you need to consider that. If you go to spend and you hit a cap, we had a client have this happen last year. They hit their cap, $50K in a day. Now, luckily they had 2 different ad accounts running, so they got to get to $100K, but it capped them. They could have spent $250,000, and you lose out on that when you get throttled. And so get limits increased. If you're spending large amounts, you can go ahead and check in with your rep. If you're spending that much, you'd likely have a higher tier of support, and just let them know this is what we're expecting to spend. We need this raised. Another thing to consider, and this is for everybody, you need to check your payment methods. What I mean by that is make sure that if you have credit limits, that you're not going to hit it halfway through Saturday. if your card is almost maxed out or something like that. Make sure that you have a backup payment method. Facebook loves to disable and restrict business managers and ad accounts that don't pay them. Crazy concept, right? But it happens. And so just make sure you have your primary form of payment and your secondary form of payment on file so you don't run into those situations. Now, on another standpoint, from a budgeting standpoint, we're going to come in hot. We're gonna come in hot on our custom audiences. And what I mean by that is we need to go in heavy on existing campaigns for hot, or not existing campaigns, campaigns for hot audiences. So when we get in hot audiences and warm audiences, these are of course people that have already engaged with you, right? So like, let's say, I'm just gonna give an example. Like if your budget that you were gonna spend, and this is only a 4-day period of time, by the way. If you're doing Black Friday, you only have 3 days. And so if you would normally spend $100 a day on your warm and hot audiences, you would be spending $300 to $500 a day. We want to go in hot on these because it's easier to back off budget than to add budget and hope it optimizes into it. Usually it doesn't happen. And so it's better to come in hot and then back off than go in light and try to chase the results halfway through a Saturday or at the end of the day on Friday, right? So we're gonna go in hot on those campaigns, start big because again, we can always pull back. We wanna start spending heavy early and then we'll be able to pull back if we need to. Now from a budgeting standpoint, this is kind of a little bit of a campaign structure as well. I'm gonna recommend, and this is also a skill set one here. I'm not gonna break down every element of this, but I'm gonna say test daily and lifetime budgets. And so the reason I had 2+ campaigns in here is because we can test that. That's a great test for you to do. If you're gonna run 2 campaigns, you can run one on a daily budget, you can run one on a lifetime budget. And the lifetime would start on Friday morning at 12:01 a.m. and it would end at 11:59 p.m. on Sunday, right? And so if you're not familiar with how they both kind of operate, a daily spend, and if you've run ads on Facebook, you know this, if you set the budget to spend $100 a day, Facebook will spend $100 per day, regardless of results. So daily spend is forced spend. It's gonna force you to spend. Lifetime is usually, not always, but usually slower. So what happens is lifetime kind of likes to wait for what is called in baseball the fat pitch. It means that when it's lined up perfectly and it throws right down the center and it's able to just crack it out of the park, right? I'm writing this script and my wife Kelsey walks into my office and she's like, is it fast pitch or fat pitch? I'm like, no, it's called fat pitch. And it's when it's lined up just perfectly and then it cracks it out of the park, right? So that's kind of how I'd say the best way I could explain lifetime is it's gonna spend, usually, not always, but it usually spends slower until it dials in. And then once it knows, because you have an end date, it's gonna ramp up towards the end of it. And you can also continue to bump budgets within lifetime. You could scale within that lifetime budget and they'll still keep ramping it up. And so if you've never run lifetime, it might be time to consider running a lifetime because this is a short window. Like, give it a try, see how it spends. This is a good testing ground for you to test a new campaign structure that might be a little bit more advanced or something you've never done before. This is a scenario that we would test that. Okay, so that's the budget standpoint. And another thing I want to touch on here is to control your emotions. Because it's easy to overreact. It's easy to let your emotions get into this. We like to say marketing is a mathematical equation, not an emotional decision, which is a lot easier said than done. It's really hard to not get emotional if you're at 7 a.m. and you don't have results that you want to see. And so what we want to do to help control our emotions is to set scale parameters. Meaning if by my defined decision-making windows, which I'm going to talk about in a moment, if by this period in time, my cost per acquisition or my cost per purchase is at this, or my ROAS is at this, then stop. If my CPA is at this or my ROAS is at this, then scale. And so you need to preset your parameters of what you're willing to do. And then that way it'll help remove the emotion from it. Next thing we're gonna do is, from the emotional standpoint, what I wanna encourage you to do is expect expensive half days. And I'm gonna say first half. The first half of every day is typically gonna be more expensive. CPMs are gonna be higher. People are spending heavier in the morning, and why are they doing that? Well, because they want people to buy from them first so they don't buy from the competition. Makes a lot of sense, right? But expect them to be more expensive in the morning, but don't let that control what you're doing. Have preset decision-making windows. And just know that while other people are spending, they're gonna hit their budgets within certain parts of the day. Some people intentionally are doing that to get all their spend out by noon or by 1 or 2 p.m. And once that happens, CPMs start to go down, and then you can start to gobble everything up in the evening if you're smart with it. And so expect expensive days or expensive mornings. And then the last thing I'm gonna add in here is I'm gonna say set predefined decision-making windows. I'm just gonna say decision windows. And so for this is where we say, okay, we're gonna look at 10 a.m. We're gonna have a look at our results at 2 p.m. And we're gonna have a look at our results at 6 p.m. So we're gonna be looking every 4 hours. If you're up at 7 a.m., you could also have that as well. But usually we wanna let it spend for the first good part of the morning to really start optimizing and see what's going on. But we're gonna have predefined decision-making windows. Now I'm gonna add a little note here. This is if you are, I'm gonna say doing all 3 of these windows is like, this is more advanced, right? This is if like you're doing intraday budget scaling, and which is the next part I wanna talk about. So at these predefined windows, if you're being aggressive and you're really comfortable, you have the skill set, you're experienced in advertising, this is where you can begin to bump budgets intraday. And so the final thing I want to add on here is bump budgets intraday. So within the day, we're gonna, within these predefined windows, like 10 a.m., 2 p.m., 6 p.m., whatever those 3 windows are, try to get the morning, around a little afternoon, and then the evening. We're gonna look at these windows. We're gonna look at the scale parameters that we've set to stop, to scale, and then we're gonna make decisions in those moments. And the goal is to have everything launched, and the goal is to be trimming fat and maximizing things that are working. And so as long as you have your scale parameters set, you have your predefined decision-making windows, and then you are expecting early half days, just knowing that's gonna happen, you'll be able to bump budgets intraday and be able to really be more aggressive with it. Now, I'm not saying that everybody should go do this, but if you have the skill set and the experience and the confidence, this is something that you could play in that is a little bit more advanced. I just wanted to share it because I know there's some people that watch and listen to this and spend a lot of money on Facebook ads, and I wanna share just some ways to start to look at this. All right. Final thing I want to talk about, final thing on the ads front is let's talk about ads and messaging. Like, how do we structure our ads and our messaging for these? Well, first thing to keep in mind is that there are first and second party buyers. And I talked about this a moment ago. You have to remember that people are buying for themselves, but they're also buying for other people. And so for second party in particular buyers, with your ads and with your messaging, you're gonna wanna really consider leaning into the confidence stuff. And what I mean by that is we're gonna wanna talk about warranties. We're gonna wanna talk about guarantees. We're gonna wanna use stories inside of our copy to just make them feel confident in their decision for buying for somebody else. Talk about how much their husband is gonna love it, and we have a guarantee, or we have a warranty, and here's a story of someone else who bought it for their husband, and here was his reaction, right? So start to lean into, from a messaging standpoint, confidence factors. The other thing we wanna really lean into is going to be status. Most people say, I don't care about status, but here's the reality. Everyone wants to be the best husband. Everyone wants to be the best wife. Everybody wants to be the best friend, right? Everyone wants to be the best boss. And so status, leaning into things about, hey, be the best husband, or saying like, your wife will love this, or like the perfect gift for him. So leaning into language around gifting and around status and how they will feel seeing the reaction, the response of the person they're gifting for will have a big impact on second party buyers. And then the other thing to keep in mind with, and now this isn't, I had to throw this in there because this is more website related, but I had to throw this in there just regarding second party buyers. Just a side note is to really consider your upsells and what those look like for second party buyers. So a lot of times you have upsells, like if you buy one candle, hey, you could buy 3 candles or 5 candles or whatever. But there are other things you can kind of lean into just knowing that you're gonna have second party buyers coming in. You can lean into things like wrapping. Because wrapping is something that maybe a first party buyer doesn't really care about if they're buying for themselves, but a second party buyer would be like, yes, please, I don't wanna wrap that candle. It's round and round things are freaking annoying to wrap. So consider adding wrapping as an upsell. You can also consider upgrading the bundle. So if it's one thing, and you might be able to, using something like Zipify OCU, you could do pre-purchase or post-purchase or push them to do a bundle upgrade for the product that they were buying that you were maybe driving them to through your ads. So consider upgrading for those second party. And when you're doing all of this, just let the algorithm do the sorting between first and second party. So if you write the copy and you build the creatives and stuff, don't try to go target an audience and then layer down by people interested in gifting. You don't need to do that. Just let Facebook do the sorting of everything. And then a few final things I'm just gonna add regarding ads, regarding messaging. A couple things here. A few things is let's go ahead and consider shorter copy. Don't spend a crazy amount of time creating a ton of primary text. Most people don't click on the little see more button anyway. Shorter copy is gonna be, just make sure it's succinct to the point. People are just looking, you're gonna get a heavy volume of traffic. Usually click-through rates go up, so you don't have to spend a crazy amount of time on that. Consider theming your ads to whatever the holiday is with colors, with like if it's Christmas, you're gonna have different, if it's Black Friday, you're gonna use black, you use a lot of red, Christmas in some gold, Christmas is gonna be a lot of white and yellow, or white and reds and greens, etc. So consider theming your ads, extend guarantees. So consider extending your guarantees and extending your return windows. And then consider adding buy now, pay later. And then ultimately, remember this. Most marketers' problems during Black Friday through Cyber Monday aren't that they can't spend on Black Friday, it's that they can't spend more while maintaining the same results. And so, you're gonna be able to spend on Black Friday, Cyber Monday. But to be able to spend more and still maintain results is what this is about. You gotta be strategic. You gotta plan in advance. You can't wait until the last minute to create assets, plan your offers, try to figure out how everything works together. No, you gotta be in front of everything, and then you gotta trust the process. You gotta go through all of this. You gotta set up your audiences. You gotta set up your campaign structures. Make sure you're controlling your budgets. You expand the caps if you believe you're gonna run into those. You control your emotions. You make predefined decision-making windows, and then you make sure your ads are both for first and second party. You may even want to consider breaking out different ad sets or different campaigns for that, but still letting Facebook go and find those people within your targeting. Well, hey, I know this one was a little bit longer, but I'm grateful that you watched this or you listened to this. If you're finding value in this, please join the Ecommerce Alley Facebook group. It's free. Go to alleypodcast.com/group. We'll also have a link in the description here. And if you're enjoying this, I would also say, please give us a rating, subscribe to our podcast. We got a lot of great new things coming, especially on the YouTube front. So go to YouTube, check it out. We have a lot of new things that are gonna be dropping here in the next couple weeks. But you've been listening to the Ecommerce Alley podcast, produced by Dylan Counts. My name is Josh Coffey. We're grateful for you, and we'll see you soon.